Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Footy Show daily. We are live here on Patreon. Don't forget, click the link in the description. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the new Footy Show channel as well, which this will be going on very, very soon.
I did today.
Well done. Well done, sir. Champions League final lineup has been decided. Paris Saint-Germain versus Bayern Munich. Paris Saint-Germain beat... Who did they beat? RB Leipzig. They did beat RB Leipzig. And Bayern Munich beat Lyon last night. So let's... Paris Saint-Germain, we were talking on Tuesday, weren't we, how massively critical that quarter-final was. Getting through that quarter-final, what could have happened if they didn't get through it? You know, Thomas Tuchel could have been sacked. Allegri could have come in. Neymar could have cried and got...
Well, yeah, it's reputation, isn't it, for
and
Neymar?
Got off somewhere. But they've got through to the final, and it's absolutely huge, isn't it, for them? Yeah,
I thought, in the battle of the German managers, I thought Thomas Tuchel, came out with the winner. Obviously, both, tactically and obviously in the results. I thought, Paris Saint-Germain played really smart. I thought, they were the better team on the night. And I think Leipzig probably lacked a little bit of experience in a game like that, but they'll come again, I'm sure. They're built to keep going because of how young all the players are. I think Paris Saint-Germain, it's the culmination of a long project, which has seen a lot of changes over the years, different managers, different players. But I think they've seemed to have righted the area that caused them the most consternation in the years gone by, which is the midfield. They've now got a lot of hard-working players who do different things on the ball. And I think, they're a good side.
Do you think they are one of the best two teams in the Champions in Europe, even though they're in the final?
By results, yes. However, as we discussed at the start of the season, it's the most open year, I think, for the Champions League. It's been.
Yeah, definitely.
Last year was openish, but this year's even more open. I don't think there's I think there's very good teams like Bayern, of course, but there's no outstanding team that you think, these are going to be on. I think, at the start of the competition, the usual favourites like Barcelona were there, but
there was no outstanding team, was there? Early on, Bayern Munich had their troubles. I don't think anyone ever tipped Paris Saint-Germain, even with all the money. It's like
they never do they?
Because of obviously because they're from France, but obviously because they've had problems getting through the quarterfinals. Liverpool were probably seen as one of the favourites. Juventus with Ronaldo was seen clearly as a favourite. Yeah. But I don't think there was never that outstanding favourite. And Paris Saint-Germain, obviously, getting through the quarterfinals was massive for them. But the game before, Borussia Dortmund, playing the first leg away, getting beat, and then the second leg being behind closed doors, getting that turnaround. And I felt sorry for Borussia Dortmund at the time because it was like the first game behind closed doors. They really got the full force of it. But it'd be really interesting because the whole project's led up to this, hasn't it, for Paris Saint-Germain? The whole thing has led up to this moment, and it's a huge moment for them.
Something that Manchester City haven't been able to do. I suppose they're competing in that sense. Paris Saint-Germain, like City, have always tried to make the final. Manchester City haven't been able to do so. Paris Saint-Germain are now in the final. To win it, obviously, is now the next goal. Obviously, they've got to beat Bayern, but I think now they've got over that hump. I think that means that they should be, regular contenders. They should be, in theory, regular contenders. Now they've got over that mental hurdle of being, getting over that line.
Yeah, I think getting to the final now, with it being a one-off game, obviously they've all been one-off games.
I think that suited certain teams massively.
Yeah, I think it suited them, and I think it's interesting as well. Both teams who've got to the final, so we're buying a moment, but both teams who got to the final, their leagues. I mean, obviously France didn't come back, but Germany finished earlier than anyone else, and they've been the ones. Whereas a lot of people thought. Coming straight off the back of a season, they'd be able to take it into the Champions League, but those teams have failed.
No, the final obviously was two Germans and semi-finals, 2 Germans and 2 French sides, so they were both in the same situation. But coming from the quarterfinals, you thought other teams who've been playing longer would go through. But no, obviously Paris Saint-Germain, fairy tale killers, obviously knocking out the two, younger, not younger than Atalanta's case, but the more let's just say like hipsters' favourite sides.
But they did have what was seen as the weaker side of the draw, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah, massively so, because there's no Barcelona, there was no
City, no Bayern Munich.
So you had all the heavy teams on that side, and everyone thought this would be the year for them. But I think a lot of people also tipped Atalanta, and they almost did it. But the credit to Paris Saint-Germain, they've got a great side, and I think this will be Thiago Silva's last game. What a way to go out!
Yeah, and obviously think, Neymar, this is the big moment for him, isn't it, coming into the final, and he's been, showed flashes. I don't think doesn't exactly, control games, but he has flashes of games in the games. I don't think he's as important as Mbappe is, but
he's a maverick and he can open up a side and can cause problems. You need players like that. He's a match winner at times. If he's on song, he can do something that no one else in the world can do.
But neither of them got the goals, did they? That's the thing. Neither of them got the goals in this game. But it was a comfortable win in the end, wasn't it? For the
I thought tactically it was just superior team on the night. I think Leipzig couldn't get going. I think Paris Saint-Germain really smart, nullifying what they do best, the press, and they move the ball around well. A smart performance. Thomas Tuchel's a good coach. I think people assume that he, obviously he's had a bit of, he's sort of all himself as well. When he's at Dortmund, he's hit a ceiling. I think now he's also broken through the glass ceiling as well, and people will give him the respect that he duly reserves. He's
gonna have some decisions to make, isn't he? Because that midfield, there's so many options.
Yeah.
And obviously it'll come down to the tactics of how he's going to tactically go up against Bayern Munich. But it's going to be interesting to see who he picks for the game. In the other semi-final, obviously Bayern Munich took care of Lyon, although Lyon started brilliantly and really could have been a couple of goals up.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have. They had the post to pay around the keeper, went wide. And obviously the rebound fell to the wrong person when at the post. And I think they had three real big chances. They were the three real big chances, and you take one of them, as you say, that would have been a different game. But in a one-off game, once the big team gets ahead and starts piling the pressure, and that's what they did. Obviously, Gnabry got 2, then Lewandowski scored. Lewandowski assisted Gnabry's second. Bayern are just a machine at the moment, and they've got to be favourites for the final. But obviously, it's gonna be. I think it's what they've both been playing in one-off games. It'll be an insane final. I don't think it's been a boring final in any case, but it'll be an exciting final. I think Bayern are going to be a contender regularly now for the Champions League.
They're absolutely ruthless, aren't they? And we talk about Neymar there just for a moment, but with the way Robert Lewandowski's just took over his team, he's now the most important player. Obviously, got a goal scored in every round. But for me with Bayern Munich, there just doesn't seem to be any egos. Looks like they've got rid of the egos. And it's all young, hungry players, but with that mix of like Thomas Müller and Lewandowski and Neuer and it's just
you've got experience right through the spine, haven't you? You've got Neuer, Alaba, Thiago in midfield, and then you've got Lewandowski up front. Just all experienced players who've won trophies before in different leagues. They've obviously all top players, and then you've got that sprinkling of excitement with obviously Gnabry, you've got Goretzka, Alphonso Davies. I think that they're well put together side in terms of different facets, and obviously the coach deserves a lot of credit. He came in, Niko Kovac didn't do so well.
Penny for his thoughts.
Yeah, he couldn't unite the players. He's now at Monaco, isn't he? I'm sure he's happy there. He couldn't unite the players, and they brought someone who's a good tactician who unites the players. He's took them on again, and I think obviously the Bayern players this summer, I think they'll be even better next season.
There are a tremendous amount of comments about your haircut. So
Oh, is there? Right, yeah, sorry, I got a cut yesterday.
No, they're all positive.
I did announce this on
Twitter.
They're all
positive. I mean, maybe people missed the announcement, do you know what I mean?
There is such things called Twitter. No,
trending.
What can I say? It's important, isn't it? No, I got my haircut yesterday. I thought it was time to remove the slick back Alice band look.
There you go. So, Bayern Munich the favourites for this game then?
I would say, and look, well, you look all the way through the rounds. I think they've been the most, since they smashed Tottenham in that game, they've been the one that everyone's gone, and then look at the way they finished the season, in the Bundesliga as well. Yeah, I'd say Bayern, but Paris Saint-Germain are a good side, and I think that it's not heavily favoured by Bayern, but I think Paris Saint-Germain could easily win it as well.
Say one thing that I'd taken from all these games is I've really liked the one game format.
Yeah,
I must admit, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere. But I'd definitely scrap the away goals rule, because I would, yeah. I just think that
you're playing for it, then, yeah.
Yeah, I think it works the wrong way now. I think football teams are well capable of going out and trying to beat the opposition.
Yeah.
And I think the away goals makes it worse rather than better.
Yeah, if you look at Man City are probably the ones who I think they would have, Lyon beat them obviously in that game. I think if it was a two-legged affair, it would have been a completely different game. Yeah. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they're the rules, as they say.
No, I just think that if there's anything we can take away from what we've seen, is that I wouldn't have away goals because I just don't think I think it changes the tactics
of. It changes the flow of its game.
The Man City game against Lyon's really interesting because if it's a two-legged game, Man City they lose the second goal, and then they shut up shop then and go, well, we'll beat these in second leg. They don't go down the other end like they do, and then Leon But that's just not the away goals. I just think it's nonsense. I'd get rid of it.
It favours people. You remember like back in the day, Mourinho, Benitez used to play for the away. They used to try and get a 1-0 or 0-0. And we say, well, we usually a 1-0 and then take it back to their place and try and draw. And I think it changed. At the end of the day, I know football obviously is for the fans, but it's also around the world, the television product, and you want the best games. You want a place you win.
Yeah. Just going back to Bayern Munich, obviously Gnabry scored a fantastic goal, and a lot of people have mentioned the West Brom situation, Tony Pulis situation, but for me, I look at Arsenal and just think to myself, what were Arsenal doing? Why did they let him go?
There's a few players they've done that with, Gnabry's probably the best of them, but then, there's Ismail Benasser, who's at AC Milan, who was at Arsenal for years, never did anything. Szczesny, obviously the goalkeeper, who's now Juventus #1. So they've let play it. Sometimes, though, it's there's opportunity going elsewhere and developing. Obviously, Gnabry went to Hoffenheim, played under Nagelsmann, did really well, and went to Bayern, and now he's the player he is. And I think we've seen ourselves, players who Everton have let go and gone down the leagues, they come back better players, like Lundstram. Robinson's just got to move, of course, and obviously Adam Forshaw at Leeds. They've all come back because they've been able to play games.
And anyone on Patreon, there'll be a video dropping tomorrow about me and Andy discussing whether Everton should be looking to buy a feeder club in Europe to help develop these players. So check that out tomorrow if you're on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, click the link in the description. So it's going to be a good final, isn't it? It should be a good final.
It's I know Paris Saint-Germain are new to the big club party, but two massive teams with superstar players. You want that. Don't get me wrong, Atletico Madrid have always been great, and Spurs were good last season, but they're not traditional sides, are they? Sometimes you want those traditional finals. I think it'll be, it'll be good.
Yeah, and I think the difference between this one is, you're right, Paris Saint-Germain aren't an elite club as such. Yeah. They are perceived as a from almost like a marketing point of view, they're an elite club. Now, but the difference with them, you're right, in the last couple of years, Spurs obviously last year were major underdogs. The year before, Liverpool were seen as major underdogs. In the last few years, we've had these one big team, one an underdog, rather than two teams really competing with each other. I do think this year is, even though Paris Saint-Germain don't get that tag, that this is probably the closest final we've had for a while. Whether you think the two teams are actually close is a different thing, but it is the closest thing, I think, to having a big final for a while.
Big for France as a footballing nation as well. Ligue 1 is obviously usually the fourth, the fifth, league that people talk about in terms of prestige, but it's only going to be a good thing if they finally break that hump and a French team wins the Champions League first time since Marseille in '93, which obviously was scandalous. But I think it's time good for French football.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game, and obviously we've got the Europa League final tomorrow night as well. Inter Milan versus Seville. That's going to be
big game.
Good game as well. Obviously.
Well, the holders of the elite, the eternal Europa League trophy, Sevilla against Inter Milan, one of the grand old teams they call them.
It's going to be interesting. Just going back to the Premier League, we had the fixtures today. We don't really have to go over the fixtures. They're just, everyone plays each other twice. But apparently Newcastle have had assurances, or Newcastle fans have had assurances by the Premier League, that it is still possible for the Saudi-backed takeover to be reignited. Newcastle United Supporters Trust have held a 30-minute discussion with Premier League Chief Executive Richard Masters, where they were afforded the opportunity to ask a range of questions. They said they were left satisfied with the explanations and now believe the ball is in the court of the Saudi consortium.
I think the Saudi have to do certain things, don't they, to appease the Premier League in terms of fitting proper persons. So it's up to them really to do that.
The Supporters Trust felt more sympathetic to the position of the Premier League following the meeting, with the fans having been very critical of the league. A statement from a trust perspective, it's now over to the others to decide what happens from here. We all want the same thing. Do we though? Do we want the same thing? At the Trust, we hope that people that matter can do whatever needs to be done to allow Newcastle United to progress where it needs to be. Does it need to be there, though? The supporters group had written to the Premier League demanding answers. I mean, but they were told that the door is still open.
Just move on to a different
The
investment.
sad thing is, I genuinely still believe this could and will happen. That's because
There's too much money involved.
Because there's too much money involved, even though the reasons why the Premier League have said are just they're not scandalous, the reasons they've given. The things Saudis of the Saudi consortium, the range of things are just mad. Like, I know people have a general idea of the way Saudi Arabia is anyway, but just the things like pirating, I think these things
it's
that were
putting
just
under threat TV contracts.
Yeah.
They bring the Premier League billions. You can't do that. It's, you need to. I think they should move on to other investment groups. I understand that Newcastle fans want the Saudis because they think it's the eternal spring. It's going to bring them. They're going to be Man City. But you can't be Man City.
But it's the way their fans feel so hard done by as well. Like the people. It's just mad. It's just absolutely mad. But the Premier League said the group disagreed with the assessment during the owners and directors test and withdrew their bid in a statement given to Sky Sports News. The consortium cited the prolonged process coupled with the global uncertainty. The other option open to the consortium would be to take up the offer of an independent arbitration to determine who would own and control the club. The option was not taken up during takeover the discussions. So you can imagine, though, I can imagine them taking over, but maybe in a bit more of a watered down fashion.
You mean like Mashiri did, where he buys a certain amount of shares first, becomes majority owner, then you won't become full owner as you go on. That's a possibility. I think what I would say is I think there's still concerns over where the money's coming from, because I think they've proved they've got the money. But is that their money to spend? It's I don't know. There's always been questions over this particular person within the Saudi royal family who's backing them. He's been involved in other bids that have never gone anywhere, so we'll see. I think Staveley's, she's obviously needs to close a deal because this will be the third or fourth deal. It's not really worked out for buying a club, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, but I think let's be frank and honest, nobody wants it.
Who's frank?
Who's honest? I don't think anyone wants that deal to go through other than Newcastle fans. I think Newcastle fans believe it will catapult them as one of the biggest clubs in the world.
It won't. It's with FFP. It just seems just
No, I know.
impossible.
No, I know. It would.
Unless you're a genius in your first summer, you just can't do it. But even then, Newcastle's accounts are probably fine because Mike Ashley doesn't spend a penny really unless it comes in the door. So, yeah, we'll see. But do it another way.
Let's just check out some of your comments.
Right.
Keith Powell says, amazing that Tony Pulis says when Gnabry was on loan at West Brom from Arsenal, he sent him back because he was not ready for top flight football.
Well, it's one man's opinion is different than another's. That's football for you. Some people like players, some people don't.
Terry McAllister says, what are your thoughts on the situation of Valencia? Reportedly, the club tried to give the players IOUs for their wages as they were unable to pay them.
I can't really comment on Valencia.
Okay, you can't. I like the idea, though, of like them getting like all the players going down the corridor, going to like this little window, and someone just passing their wage in a little brown envelope, and just inside the opening said IOU.
Right, okay.
50,000. That'd be amazing. But yeah, for legal reasons, you can't comment. There's just so many people talking about your hair. It's amazing.
It was done a Cutthroat Pete's by Jay Ahmed. You like Darren, don't you? He's an actual Evertonian.
Darren's an Evertonian.
Yeah, to be fair, Jay is a Liverpool fan, to be fair. We don't discuss football, to be fair, when we're there.
Fulham have signed Anthony Robinson.
The Jedi.
I mean, now listen.
Great nickname.
It was the best title to a video I could do last week. Was Return of the Jedi ? Yeah. But he's gone to Fulham. But he'll face competition there, though.
Stu Bryan's 26 still. He's scored 2 goals in the playoff final. I think Anthony Robinson's a good player. I think he carries the ball well up the pitch. I think he can break the lines with his carry, and he causes problems with his athleticism. A one-on-one defender, not great. I'm going to be honest. He's going to start to develop that part of his game if he's to stay in the Premier League and play regularly.
Dean Henderson is close to signing a new long-term deal with Manchester United. He'll obviously be going back to Manchester United to fight out for the number 1 spot with David De Gea, after Aaron Ramsdale signed for Sheffield United from Bournemouth. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because Dean Henderson obviously had a good first Premier League season. What do you think will happen with that?
It's difficult for United, though, because they've got probably a year with Henderson in terms of he's going to sit behind. Will he sit behind De Gea longer than a year? I don't think they could sell David De Gea right now. I don't think anyone would take that wages on. Real Madrid in the past would have, but now they got Thibaut Courtois. It's been excellent for them. I think that option's closed. Obviously, Sergio Romero will be sold. I think that's some he'll interest certain teams in the Premier League, especially. But it depends on Henderson. I think can he push De Gea enough? Yes, probably. I think he's a good goalkeeper, and De Gea's slightly on the decline. It's just a weird situation. Goalkeepers is so hard right now because everyone's spent big money on goalkeepers over the last couple of years.
I could definitely see Dean Henderson playing cup games. I think it's Champions League though, isn't it?
You could do him playing league games and De Gea, like Buffon and Szczesny did that first season, or Buffon did last season for Paris Saint-Germain. You can do that where they swap between league and Europe, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's David De Gea on 350 grand a week or whatever he's on. It's going to be difficult. Can you have someone sitting on the bench like that? No, Arsenal doing Ozil, but it's difficult for Henderson. Do I think Henderson's that good of a goalkeeper? He could be. We'll see. I'm not too sure yet. It's an interesting one.
I think he'll definitely get cup games this year, and they'll ease him in, and then if they get an offer for David De Gea, maybe next summer, that might be the time to sell.
It's a good position to have because they've got an asset that's worth over 30 million there that they can sell. Obviously it's good for them to be able to sell people like that. Yeah, I think obviously for Aaron Ramsdale, that's a good move. He did well at Bournemouth last season. I think he was a Sheffield United lad, academy graduate before he went to Bournemouth. So yeah, good going back to the Blades for him.
Matty Longstaff has stayed at Newcastle, signed a new long-term deal. Do you think that's because no one wanted him?
No, I just think that they tried the hardest really to get him. I think people would have had to pay a fee. I don't really see Matty Longstaff being a starter for most Premier League teams. So when he go and play on the bench, he's more likely to play for Newcastle than he is others in the Premier League. So yeah, probably best staying there.
And finally, probably the greatest news ever of the day. Anyway, Zlatan is close to signing a new deal with AC Milan.
Why do you take this one?
Scored 11 goals in 20 games last season.
No, he was a catalyst, wasn't he? He was the big catalyst. Which him and obviously the new coach Pioli turned it round. He decided that they weren't going to go with Ralph Rangnick. And I think he's good for, as you've talked about in the past, he's good for the younger players. And they've got a relatively youngish side in certain places. So yeah, I think it's a good move, and they want to obviously push for the Champions League next year.
There you go. That's been our roundup of today. Looking forward to both finals over the weekend, and then that'll be it, won't it? Pre-season next season for fixtures come out though. Just on the fixture very quickly. Man City don't start the season, do they? In the first week, and Manchester United don't as well.
Yeah, because of the extended.
So they get a little bit of a break because of the extended. That's interesting as well. But I
think people finally realised today as well that the games are picked for television rather than actually random.
Oh yeah.
2 home games for a certain club.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I could go on about that all day. The fact that they start the season at home, or on Boxing Day at home, and finish the season at home.
Bit of a TV thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit strange that, isn't it? Bit weird that, Yeah. What it is, yeah. There you go. If you want to watch this video live every day, catch us on Patreon. If not, click the link to subscribe to the new channel. If you're watching right now live, stick around because we'll be doing the Live of 5 very, very soon.
Super Live of 5?
It's like Super Live of 5 today. That's on YouTube as well. If you're looking back to yesterday. There you go. We'll see you later. I'm waving.
I'm saluting.
Okay.